The Other Cottage by Corvuscrowned. Summary. If Pansy wasn't shagging Ginny Weasley, Draco would never have been dragged to Luna's ridiculous Halloween party in the first place, meaning he would be sitting in the corner of the room with Harry Potter all night. But when a strange comet passes overhead, things start to get even weirder than usual. As the night unfolds, Harry and Draco are forced to grapple with strange realities, reckon with new sides of themselves, and find their way back before the comet finishes crossing the sky. Part 1. Draco wonders if Harry knows he's got mulled wine in his lion's mane. He'd sloshed his drink when Seamus hollered something from across the room, and the inky red had dribbled down his chin, which he'd wiped at, indelicately, with the back of his arm. But there was still a patch of red just beneath his mouth, like he'd just devoured a lamb. "Sorry," Harry says, turning back to him. "What were you saying?" Draco doesn't remember. Neither of them were saying much of anything. They don't tend to. But they pair off anyways, every time Pansy drags him out these ridiculous excuses for parties. Everyone else does. Ron with Hermione, Seamus with Dean, Luna with Neville, Pansy with Ginny, which is why Draco is always dragged along in the first place. That leaves Draco with Harry. Wheels 9 and 10. Luna and Neville's cottage is riddled with jack-o'-lanterns, waxy candles, and meandering ghosts for the occasion. Black paper bats float around the room, and strings of orange and purple lights color the mist Luna charmed to hang in the air around them. Aside from that, it's just like all of the other gatherings Pansy drags him to. They sit around and get drunk at various speeds, pair off and leave Harry and Draco to figure out what to do with themselves. Draco never gets the chance to remember what he was saying. Seamus drops into the chair next to Harry at the kitchen table. "Hermione is on one tonight," he says. "Thought it was a Halloween party, not an ethics lecture." "It's not a lecture," Hermione calls from across the room. Her hair is piled up in a bun atop of her head, and she's wearing a modest black frock. Her set of beakers complete the Marie Curie outfit, though Ron and Dean have been using them as shot glasses all night. "I only said to remember it's a community, not a costume." "I should have dressed up as her." Seamus grumbles into his drink. "Now there's a terror." He drops his werewolf mask onto the table. Black lips are curled back in an eternal snarl. Luna had insisted that costumes weren't optional on the invite. He floats around the room, dressed as the Aurora Borealis, clouds of ambient light following her with every step. He's gotten Neville into a mandrake costume, complete with orange terracotta pants and springy green leaves atop of his head. The others took this assignment with varying levels of seriousness. Ron threw on a Chudley Cannon jersey and called it a day. Pansy took it as an excuse to wear a skimpy outfit that was a little more than a black bra and skirt, and added a pair of mouse ears. Harry's a lion, which is a little obvious, but it works. Draco is Harry Potter. Harry had laughed when he and Pansy arrived, just like Draco knew he would. He charmed on a scar, and the glasses were easy to find. They sold them in Harry Potter costume bundles in nearly all the shops in Diagon at this time of the year. Draco had opted not to use the wig, spelling his hair black and disastrous instead. He'd even gotten Pansy to knit one of Ginny's Gryffindor scarves. "I want to know when we're starting the blood magic," Pansy says, appearing from a very lengthy tour of Luna's cottage, with a dazed-out and tussle-haired Ginny on her arm. "Seems a waste not to sacrifice something to the devil tonight." Ginny adjusts her Percy Weasley glasses and straightens his hat on her head. "I thought you said it was all muggle rubbish anyway." "It isn't," Luna says. "Tonight is the night that the veil between the worlds is the thinnest," she adds cheerfully. "Though I don't suppose the devil would care for blood sacrifice. It doesn't sound very appetizing. Maybe a cauldron cake." Luna's attention is pulled away when one of the bats she's charmed to flap about the room falls to the ground. As she stares at it curiously, the rest begin to drop from the air like rainfall. Then the room is plunged into darkness. A chorus of "Lumos" immediately rings out as half of the party reflexively light their wands. The room is lit for a few seconds in a flash of half-illuminated faces, and then each of the lights stammer out. Harry is immediately on his feet. There's a click from across the room when Neville attempts to turn a light on, but it doesn't work. "Oh," Luna says. "This is interesting." The room breaks out into a chatter immediately. Pansy appears by Draco's side, holding onto his arm. Okay, Harry says, commanding the room to silence in the way only he can. "Let's not panic. It's not going to help anything." "What the fuck is going on?" Ron says anyway. "I can't get a Lumos, anything to augmenti." "Magical irregularities like this aren't unheard of," Hermione says, though her voice is pinched. "They're a bit like Muggle blackout. I'm not going to live like a Muggle," Pansy says. "You won't have to," Ginny says, appearing by her side. "I'm sure it's nothing, Pans. Mom told us about this happening once in the 70s. Dean takes out his vampire fangs. "Yeah, and it lasts a full week." Ginny scowls at him. "Unhelpful." "It's just the universe having a bit of a laugh," says Luna, whose Aurora costume has reverted into nothing but a silvery purple dress. "A Halloween trick. We should make a fire in the meantime, with matches." The room devolves into panicked chatter, and Draco stands across the room. Harry follows him, and they stand by the window, gazing into the dark of the night. "Harry," Draco says, glancing at him and then back out the window. "Look." Luna's cottage sits in the middle of an empty field, with no neighbors for miles. But there's a flicker of light across the field now, purple and orange illuminating the distant shapes of windows. "It's a house," Harry murmurs. "It's a cottage." "Who the fuck is that?" Ron asks, appearing next to Harry as the rest of the group trickles over to the window. "Oh," Luna says pleasantly. "No neighbors?" "I've never seen that house before," Neville murmurs. "They have magic," Dean says, cupping his hand around his face to look out of the window. "How do they have magic?" The fire brims in Seamus' eyes as he pockets his wand and grabs Dean by the arm. "Let's find out," he says. "We're going over there." "It could be some kind of trap," Hermione warns nervously, "and you can't defend yourselves without magic." But Seamus has already pulled Dean to the door. "Don't worry, Hermione," Dean says with a dark grin. "Just want to give them a warm welcome to the neighborhood." The door shuts behind them, and the room settles into an uneasy silence. Harry pushes the golden mane down around his neck. "Luna, do you have any candles?" he says, to a steady note of practiced authority slipping into his tone. "Jen, why don't you see if the Flu network is working? Ron, maybe see if you're able to apparate." "The last thing we need to do is panic," Neville says in a panicked voice as the others follow Harry's orders. He peers out the window as Dean and Seamus' silhouettes slowly disappear in the moonlight. "Oh, I think it will be fun," Luna says, returning with a handful of candles and ancient-looking matches. "We can really get to know one another. We can tell ghost stories." Draco had thought spending the night with Gryffindors was his worst nightmare. Now he knows that it's spending the night with Gryffindors without magic or any means of escape. Pansy uncorks another bottle of wine. "I can't live without magic," she says, sloshing another pour into her glass and passing the bottle down the circle. "I never learned how to clean the dishes in the Muggle way." "It won't be gone forever," Hermione says firmly. "It would be like the sun dropping out of the sky." "I've always wanted to learn to sew by hand," Luna says pleasantly, "and how to bake muffins the Muggle way." Harry nudges Draco with his shoulder. I think you can take the glasses off, he murmurs. They just make you look like a librarian without the rest of it. Draco had forgotten about them. Is that a note you're willing to take for yourself? He asks, pulling off the glasses and running a hand through his uncharmed hair. You know, they do make frames in different shapes. Harry starts to reply, but is cut short. The room falls into silence at the sound of paper ruffling against the ground. Then a few of Luna paper bats spring into the air. Luna bounds up, her aurora lights rekindling. The fairy lights re-illuminate. The mist re-swirls, and Draco can feel the familiar hum of magic re-spark at his fingertips. See? Luna says, spelling a few of the lazier bats back into the air. Nothing to worry about. Magic is a playful thing. Ron and Ginny stand to gaze out of Luna's window, where the house across the field still flickers in the distance. Seamus and Dean push into the door at that moment. Well? Neville asks. Just got turned around, Dean says. Sent right back here. Seamus studies the room for a moment and then turns to stare out the window at the other cottage. What do you mean you got turned around? Ginny asks impatiently. I mean that we walked over to the house, and when we got there, we were here, Dean says, standing next to Seamus. Like it's a loop or a reflection. Christ, Ron says, dropping his hat into his hands. I bloody hate Halloween. I think it's best we all stay here for now, Hermione says in a pinched voice. I don't understand, Harry says. That house is also this house? It may be the comet, Luna says. They all look at her. What? Pansy snaps. Boxless comet, Luna continues pleasantly. It passes over England tonight. Looks around at their gawking faces pleasantly. It was written on the invitations. Well, this night has been a pleasure of the highest degree, Draco says, crashing back to the flue. But I think I'll take advantage of being able to get the hell out of here while I can. I don't know, Ginny says. You might end up in Antarctica. I think I'll take my chances, Draco says. Pans? She's right, Dray, Pansy says, not moving from Ginny's side. Maybe we'd best just stay until the morning. I do love sleepovers, Luna says, but the comet is only overhead for about an hour. She crosses over to Draco and loops an arm through his elbow. Draco, you have to stay. We haven't even started the seance. Neville stands beside her and kisses her on the head. I thought we agreed. No seances in the house. Then we'll have it outside. I'd prefer to be too drunk to understand whatever the hell is going on right now, Pansy says. He pours Draco a shot of fire whiskey and pushes it into his hand. Maybe you should join me. The group moves back into the living room. Draco grumbles and knocks back the shot. When he blinks away the burn of alcohol, Seamus and Dean are still standing by the window, murmuring to each other and glancing at the house in the distance. They glance up at Draco nervously and then follow the rest to the next room. Only Harry and Draco linger. Harry turns to the window the moment the room has thinned out, worry finally wrinkling his brow now that there were fewer to witness it. What do you think it is? Draco asks, standing beside him. As they watch, the purple and orange lights glowing from the other cottage, which Draco now recognizes as identical to the one swirling above them, flicker into darkness. Then, after a few moments, they are rekindled. I don't know, Harry says. I don't know if we should try to find out. At one point in his life, Draco knows that Harry would already be across the field, fueled by his trademark courage, or foolhardy curiosity. But he was older now, in a house full of people he wanted to protect. Draco glances down at the table where Seamus has dropped his mask. Harry, he says, look. Harry looks down at it. Lips curled into an ugly snarl, teeth bared. But it isn't the furry werewolf mask Seamus had earlier. It's a sickly green troll.
What happened to his other mask?
Draco says as Harry picks it up to inspect it.
Maybe he had two.
Harry says quietly.
A backup. He didn't have to.
Draco says. He walks over to peer into the living room from the threshold. It doesn't appear that anyone has noticed. The two costumes are similar without the mask, both simple and dark. But instead of the patchy, furry werewolf costume, Seamus has on a tattered troll vest. He and Dean sit in the corner away from the rest, studying the group in silence, occasionally exchanging murmurs. They both look like they're going to be ill.
So what?
Harry murmurs, appearing beside him.
So he changed costumes. So they walked across the field and came back, and Seamus had changed costumes?
Draco shakes his head, stepping away from the doorframe.
Something's changed, he says. I think it was more than the costume.
Harry studies him like he can't tell whether Draco is making a joke.
I don't understand.
I don't either, Draco says.
But we need to go over there.
Harry glances over his shoulder into the living room.
Fine. I'll just tell Ron and Hermione.
Of course, Draco says. Tell Ron and Hermione and tell everyone and put the whole house into a panic. Brilliant.
Well, we can't just go.
Then we won't, Draco says. I will. You can stay and babysit. Harry grimaces slightly, looking over his shoulder again.
Okay,
he says, facing Draco.
We'll be quick, though.
The moon casts Harry's back in a silvery glow as he leads the way across the field. It bounces off his jet-black hair and catches in the rustling knee-length grass that he parts with his steps like the sea. As they grow closer to the cottage, its features slowly come into focus. An ivy-drenched south wall, a thatched roof, and a door painted the bright lavender Luna had picked out when she and Neville moved in. The windows glow with a meandering purple and orange swirl of light. Draco can make out the silhouette of paper beds fluttering about inside. Harry stops short, and Draco nearly walks into his back. Harry hesitates.
Reckon I have a bit of experience in this area. I don't think we should.
He falters again, turning to Draco's.
If we're in there, you and me, I don't think we should let them see us.
Draco nods. Sweat is prickling at his collar, his fingers tight around his wand. Harry walks around the back of the cottage, giving it a wide berth. Draco can see the silhouettes inside. Mouse ears, a lion's mane, the shape of humans distorted by disguises. As they draw nearer, something flutters past one of the windows. Blur of a rainbow and clouds, a river of silver-white hair. Luna twirls in the middle of the room. Another Luna. Another costume. Harry grabs Draco by the arm and pulls him away from the window. They drop down onto their knees.
Look,
he whispers, pointing. To be continued. Thank you for listening to the first part of The Other Cottage by corvuscrowned. The next part will, as always, drop tomorrow, and I really hope you enjoyed this first part, and I can't wait to see you back for tomorrow. Take care of yourself.